Hey there, do you have a first aid kit? Yeah, you probably have a first aid kit. Do you know what's in the first aid kit? Probably not, other than maybe Band-Aids. So today, we're going to take a first aid kit that we got at the store, we're going to open it up, we're going to see what's in it, we're going to give you some ideas for things to edit, what to change, what to add, how you might use it, why you might want a bigger one, why you might want a smaller one. All kinds of things related to first aid kits, so stay tuned and we'll go through it here in a second. Hey everybody, welcome to Cascadia Dispatch today. I'm Casey, and today's episode we're going to talk about first aid kits. We're going to talk specifically about the type of kit you would buy at a store, so a pre-made kit, and then how you might adjust it or add to it, change it, edit it for your own specific needs. So that's what we're going to talk about today. To start with, we're going to use the Adventure Medical Kit's First Aid 1.0 kit as kind of our example. Obviously this isn't every first aid kit is not the same, but we're going to use this as our kind of example case. So let's dive in, shall we? Okay, so the first couple of things we'll talk about the pouch of the actual kit. So this kit, first off, is red, which is really helpful. If you're in an emergency, people are kind of used to seeing red as an emergency color, so they'll likely find this. If you're telling someone to go get it, you can say, hey, grab the red pouch out of my car, and that will make it easier for them to find it. There are some organizational pouches in here to kind of hold everything. And then the pouch itself is kind of a nylon material. The instructions and that come with it don't say whether or not it's waterproof or not, or water resistant. I'm going to assume that it's probably somewhat waterproof or somewhat weather resistant. But if I were going to be in a really wet environment, maybe I'm out hiking in the rain or crossing a creek or something like that, you'd probably put this in like a Ziploc bag or something, or some sort of a watertight container to make sure everything in it stays dry. There are other kits that you can get at the store that will maybe have a plastic case, which might be good, except it may not have a watertight seal. So while it's wonderful if it gets rained on, if it's submerged or something, the plastic isn't necessarily going to help keep the water from going inside. So that's the pouch. Next we're going to talk about what's in it. Usually first aid kits are kind of divided into two areas. There's usually wound care, and then there's usually medication. So we're going to talk about both of those pieces next. So diving into wound care, there are a few different kind of bandages that they have that we'll walk through. I just want to remind everyone, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an EMT, I'm not a first aid instructor of any kind. I'm just kind of showing you what's in the kits and how I would probably use them, how I've seen them used, and how the kind of basic first aid training that I've had would lead me to use them. If you have specific questions, then you should definitely consult with an advanced instructor or consult with a physician or an EMT or someone like that. So as far as the bandages go, there are a bunch. There's 12 in this package of kind of your more traditional oblong shaped Band-Aids or bandages, depending on if you care about using brand names or not. These are great. They're super versatile. You can use them for a lot of different applications. So it's great to have a bunch of these in the kit. They also include a couple of knuckle bandages. I don't really love knuckle bandages, mostly because whenever I use knuckle bandages, they always seem to fall off or they don't hold very well. So for you, if knuckle bandages work great, then maybe you want to keep them. For me, I would probably trade these for a couple of smaller oblong bandages or maybe something else. I don't know that I would probably have these in my kit, but they come with it, and so it's not a bad thing to have them in there. There is a long, wide kind of almost like a knee or an elbow bandage. So this is going to be if you have a much bigger scrape, something that's going to be bigger than what the standard oblong bandage would take care of. So this is in there. I'm going to show you in a second something I would probably pick over this, but the fact that it's in there is just a good reminder that having different size bandages is definitely going to be a helpful thing that you're going to want to have in your kit. And then it also comes with these butterfly closures. These are kind of like stitches, but they're not stitches. So they're not staples, they're not stitches, they're not meant to be like that, but they are meant to try and keep deeper cuts closed to help with the clotting process and to reduce the bleeding. So it's great that they have them in there. There are different versions of this sort of a thing that you can get. The fact that it comes with it is really great. Again, it's probably a good reminder if you're building your own or you're augmenting your own to look at something like this in your kit. So aside from the adhesive bandages, there are also kind of non-adhesive bandages. So this comes with two of the 2-inch sterile gauze pads, as well as 2 of the 3-inch sterile gauze pads. It also comes with a roll of tape, which is key because a gauze pad on its own is not necessarily super helpful if you don't have any way to adhere it to yourself. So the tape is really great. As I was saying with kind of this larger bandage, what I would probably actually prefer is something like this, where I can, in the same amount of space, I could use this to cover a wound, but I could also cut it down to a different size. So if I really like the 2-inch and I run out of 2-inch pads, then I can take a 3-inch and I can cut it down. Or I can cut this down to a 1-inch. Or if I have a really, really ugly cut and I'm planning on using the tape to close it, or I'm thinking about using these to close it or something, I could take some of this gauze, I could cut it up, and I could use it to pack the wound to apply more pressure for the clotting. I could roll this up and stuff it into the wound and use the tape to help with that. So while this kit is not a trauma kit, there are some things that you can do that would help in a situation of extreme bleeding or something like that. So definitely like these. I definitely prefer these. There are also a couple of different versions of these that you can get. Some are coated so they don't stick to your skin, which is another great thing. So I have some of those in my kit. These are just the standard kind of almost like cotton squares that you would use. So again, it depends on what you think you're going to use and what you use at home. But I definitely like having these in the kit as well. In addition to the bandages, then you also need to be able to clean the wound. So this first aid kit comes with a bunch of antiseptic towelettes that you can use and rub them on the wound, and that'll clear out any bacteria or help get rid of any debris. Additionally, it comes with these Forceps, which are basically tweezers. I think most of us would refer to them as tweezers, but they call them Forceps because I think that's the technical term. They come with the Forceps or the tweezers. In a lot of kits, you're going to find these are going to be plastic. In this kit, what's really nice is they're metal. So plastic ones over with a lot of use, they're going to wear out at the top hinge here, and they also might get a little dull on the ends from use because plastic does that. Metal likely won't, or at least won't as quickly. So you're going to have a better end and you're going to have a better hinge and more use out of these. But this is great if you're trying to get actual debris like rocks or something out of a scrape or a cut or something like that. You can use these. Also, if you get like a crazy splinter or something, super helpful to have these as well. Triple antibiotic ointment. So this is like a Neosporin. You would put this on the wound, the cut, or the scrape to make sure the bacteria and stuff doesn't get in it once you've put the Band-Aid on. It helps seal it up. This is something that they give you 2 little pouches, but they give you 20-something Band-Aids. So obviously there's not enough of this to actually go with every Band-Aid that you have. Hopefully, in theory, you're not using all of your Band-Aids all at once, but this is something that I would look at getting a larger container of and putting in the pouch. They have tubes, they have little spray things that you can get, so I would do that. I have the sprays in all of my first aid kits and pouches, so I would look at getting that, but definitely it's good to have it, but you're going to need more of this really to go with all the Band-Aids and bandages that are in the kit. Alright, from an injury perspective, there are a couple of things in this kit that are not necessarily wound care as much as they are injury help. So the first thing is this elastic bandage. So a lot of people would know this as kind of like an Ace bandage is more of the brand name, but it's basically a big long piece of elastic fabric that you would wrap around, and then it's got little metal clips that will hold it in place. This is what you might use if you're trying to stabilize an ankle or a wrist or something like that, or if you're trying to, maybe you run out of tape and you're trying to use your gauze pads, you could use this and kind of wrap it around to hold whatever the bandage is in place. So this is really great to have. I have these in a couple of different sizes in my kit. So this is another area where you might want to edit. It comes with a 2-inch, which is 2 inches wide. I have 2-inch and 3-inch bandages in my kit because I find that usually the 3-inch actually is better for what I'm trying to do versus the 2-inch. But again, personal preference, and if you want to put that in your kit or not, then you go for it. Another thing is Moleskin. So Moleskin is a way to help with blisters. So if you're planning on, let's say you need to walk and you weren't planning on it, and you're in dress shoes and you now have to walk from your office downtown 3 miles to your home, you likely are going to get blisters on the back of your heel if you don't do that regularly. So Moleskin is great because you can cut it up, you can put it on the areas that are rubbing against your shoe or gloves or something like that, and it will help to eliminate or limit the blisters that you get. We've actually used this many times when we're just downtown or something and one of the kids starts to get a blister from having shoes on and walking too much, or walking, in shoes that they're not used to walking in. We can cut a little piece of this up and it's really, really great on their feet. So this is one of those items that it's in the first aid kit, but we use it and we replenish it regularly at our house. So let's dive into the medication portion. So to start with, there are a couple little pouches of medication that this kit comes with. This is an area where you're going to want to edit probably pretty heavily based on your own needs. So we'll start with pain medication. It comes with some ibuprofen, it comes with some acetaminophen, and it comes with some aspirin. Most people know ibuprofen as Advil, most people know acetaminophen as Tylenol, and most people know aspirin as aspirin. Depending on your preference for an anti-inflammatory, headache, pain sort of a medication. Some people don't like to use Tylenol, some people don't like to use Advil, some people prefer Aleve or naproxen sodium, whatever. It's up to you, but I would get whatever you prefer and get a small bottle of that. I wouldn't necessarily try and use these pouches, for example. Again, there's plenty of room in the pouch to make some additions, and so you could put a small bottle of Advil or Tylenol or something in here and then have the medication that you actually want. Next up, it comes with a couple of Diphenhydramine, which I'm not sure that I said that correctly, but as I said before, I'm not a doctor, so there you go. Most people know this as Benadryl. This is for allergies and it's an antihistamine. In our family, our kids have a bunch of food allergies and environmental allergies, so we have Benadryl all over the place. So while it's lovely to have these couple of pouches, for me, I would swap these out for either a small bottle or a package of the chewable tablets or something like that, because for our family, we would likely go through more of this than what's in the little first aid kit. Your family may not have allergies, and so you might not need that. As I said, everyone's got to customize this kind of for their own needs and preferences. The kit also comes with some after-bite towelettes, so these are for bug bites and anti-itch sort of a situation where you got a mosquito bite or something and it's itching like crazy. You can wipe this stuff on and it's supposed to kind of make it not itch as much. Depending on how you are, you may spend a lot of time outdoors and get a bunch of bug bites, and so 3 towelettes is really not going to do it for you. They make a pen version of this that's longer that you can like roll on to wherever the itch is. You might consider that. There's plenty of room in the pouch to add that in if you wanted to. Or if you don't spend a ton of time outdoors, you don't get a lot of bug bites, then maybe these 3 towelettes are perfectly fine for you. Again, that's a spot where you're going to have to kind of look at your preference and your lifestyle and where you might be when you need this first aid kit and make some determinations of what to add and what to edit. The final piece of this kit specifically is, it's kind of a fun thing that adventure medical kits do, and they kind of put survival things in first aid kits and first aid stuff in survival kits, and they kind of blend them back and forth a little bit. So in this first aid kit, they have included a whistle. If you watched our video on the Soul Survival Medic kit, you saw a very similar whistle. So it's super loud, it's plastic, it's super thin, and if, let's say, you're out hiking and you have the first aid kit in your bag and you've fallen over or something and you need help, you may be able to treat your injury as far as putting a bandage on or something, but you may not still need to get help. And the whistle is going to help you in reaching people that may not be next to you but may be a ways away, and will hear the whistle and come see what's wrong and get you help. A second thing is this little button compass. So the accuracy of these, I have no idea. And I don't know necessarily if, depending on where you were, if you would use a compass that's this small, especially because the margin for error in a compass this small, it could be pretty large. But it'll give you general directions of north, south, east, and west. And if you don't have any other compass and you're somehow lost or something, having some way of finding your bearings and getting a direction would be really useful. So that's a great bonus. And then also there are a bunch of little pamphlets that they have included with information. So this one's about bleeding and CPR, and it gives illustrations of how to treat wounds and how to perform CPR. There's one on medications and how to use them. There's one with just kind of some general survival instructions. However much survival information you can have on a card this big. So, you know, this is definitely not a long course in survival, but it'll give you some ideas. And, you know, if you're waiting for help, it'll give you something to read maybe, I don't know. And then there's one on wound care. So there's some basic first aid information in here. If you have no training, hopefully you will either read it beforehand or you won't be having a medical emergency that will require you to read this as you're going through it. But it's nice at least that they include it as well. That is going to do it today for our video on first aid kits, or at least our first video on first aid kits. We're going to have a few more videos on kind of my first aid kits, what I have, how I use them, where you might want to have different types of first aid supplies and types of kits that you would want to have. But for today, looking at kind of a store-bought kit that you might buy and put in a car, a bag, a go bag, a get-home bag. This is a good solid choice. Again, I'm going to encourage you whenever you buy a store-bought kit of any kind to read it over, look and see how it would apply to you, what you like, what you don't like, and edit it. These are meant to be general, and every situation and context is specific. So if there's a medication that you don't like or maybe you have a reaction to, get it out of the kit and put in the medication that you like. If you don't like knuckle band-aids like me, get rid of the knuckle band-aids and add in something else. So these are good starting points, and then you kind of make it your own after that. So that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, share, comment below with any questions, comment if there are topics that you would like us to cover. We have a list that we're working through, but if there's an interest in something from the community, we would like to try and get that up to the front. So let us know in the comments below what you'd like to see, and we'll see you next week with another video. Thanks a lot. Bye.